Alrighty. Here we are. Alright. So, oh, wait. I should have had this on a different thing, actually. Gah. Hello, Ducky. Let's see. Alright, dialogue. So, can't stay for long. Well, I'm glad you were able to stop by at least for a little bit. So the all right. So what is on the menu for today is I'm still gonna be doing a bit of testing just to, you know, doing another Warframe gameplay stream, and I think from the last stream we sort of figured out that it doesn't do terribly. It's not perfect, but I just personally find it difficult to play and read chat and like talk about lore stuff, which is what I want to do. So I'm just going to be trying different formats and seeing what works best, I guess, from my point of view in delivering content, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be doing some runs of Duviri, maybe like a few, and we'll stream for like an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half. Probably not like a full 2 hours. I do suck at like scheduling things, which is why the stream started a bit late, and I've got more stuff coming up after, so we won't be doing like a full 2 hour stream. But yeah, I'll be doing some runs of Duviri, and what I will be talking about, I guess it would make thematic sense to talk about Duviri, but that's a very complex subject, and I do have like a full write-up article on Duviri, and that is, I would like to make a video on that. I think that would be a really great video. But so what we're instead going to talk about is the Laverian entries, because I think that's kind of simple for me to talk about. So we'll just be going over some Laverians, and again, we'll see how many and how much we can cover. It's really just an experiment in terms of like format and delivery. So, and then yeah, I'll just be playing through Duviri and talking about some of the Laverian entries. We're definitely not going to get through all of them, of course. Who do I have for the rotation? Gara, Umbra. Let's see. All right. Well, let's just go into it. Alright, so I am on the steel path, which I shouldn't be too hard, just generally. Let's see. Some of these are like, meta, of course, but I don't have very good builds for, I think, like Wukong or Gara or Inaros. I guess Gara's probably the easiest. I have, what do I have going on here? Duration, strength, that seems fine enough. Let me get my resources from back here. Torrid, that's obviously the top choice, of course. Thundercraft will be hardest part probably. Yeah, steel part like drifter combat is pretty easy. These are not great choices, honestly. Do I even have a build for this? I do not. I have a build for the Dwarfclave though. I do not. Comma. I don't even have this. Yeah. Alright, well, so we're just not going to be doing melee, I guess. I do like how a lot of these decrees, I can't bring them up now. A lot of the decrees, they sort of feed into each other, like the ones that's like corrosive damage produces power strength, or gives you armor, and armor gives you power strength. And if you like basically stack enough of them up, then you get some pretty high damage numbers. But you've got to make sure to like go in each one at least a little bit. Last time I did Duviri run, I forgot to select Steel Path until I went to the Undercraft. Yeah. Come on, attack me. I always try to, the easiest way to get rid of these guys is to counter-attack them. Because it like basically one-shots them. But a lot of times they just stand around not... I love stacking crit decrees, yeah. Nope, you're not the one. Alright. So, like I said, we'll just be doing some Duviri, which is hopefully mindless enough that I can talk about the Laverians. So, the Laverians, and I think we'll just go in order of when they were uncovered or released, which was in the Saint of Ultra update. It was really funny because they talked about the Laverian in like kind of generic terms when they were leading up to the update, with like Gauss and disruption, non-Jupiter disruption, and they were like, oh yeah, there's going to be like a museum thing. I think they even, yeah, they were like, and it's going to be called the Laverian. I'm pretty sure they dropped like the name of it. And then in the patch notes, it doesn't appear at all. They completely took it out of the patch notes because Steve was like, well, it's actually not like a major part of the update, and it's not. And so it was like a little confusing when the update dropped. We were like, where is this museum? I mean, I, as like, you know, someone who largely pays attention to the lore, I was really excited for the Laverian. And then it seemed like it was like excluded from the update. But no, it was there. It was just undocumented. And so the first one we had was Gauss. And it was actually a pretty short one, despite being... this one's new. I haven't played Duviri in a while. On kill, 10% chance to refill the ammo. I'm actually going to reroll these. Gain +3 rerolls. That's... I guess we're going to the Undercraft. So yeah, Gauss is the first one, and it's got like a decent amount of details. Sometimes some of the Laverians are like not so much. And I posted... Woof. This is just an exterminate. That's good. And I found a video actually the other day, and I posted it in the Discord, which is like an animation of Gauss's Laverian story, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, in basic terms, I think if you wanted like more in depth, you can always read the Laverians either in game or in the Orican archives. But you know, there's a tower the Tower of Ultra at Ceres. That is like an Orokin tower, but it got the people inside of it. It says that there was a rebellion from inside, and so I assume like the palace servants or whatever, they sort of like rose up and threw off the Orokin overlords. I mean, this is still pretty hard for me to concentrate. But yeah, so and then they basically like took over the tower and in rebellion, and so Gauss was sent in to basically put down the rebellion, which he did just because he was speedy enough. And like as the first, whoa, I'm getting jade lighted. And as the first Laverian, I think it set an interesting precedent. And just continue in the precedent of the Laverian in general. But yeah, so and we don't have a lot of information. We know that gotta have Bombastein's Malice. Bombastein's Malice is like legit my favorite decree. But yeah, we still don't have a ton of details about, like, we know that Ultra was on Ceres, but we still don't know, like, I would say exactly like how the rebellion went or like how long it lasted, what was the importance of Ultra. We've had Ultra's not the only time that we've seen Ceres as like an important Orokin location. Corfel and Aurelia, the Orokin couple from shit, I missed time there. The Orokin couple from the Nabarus, from Dagath's Nabarus tale, were from they lived on Ceres as well, and like from the vein thorns that you get from them, it seems like, it wasn't just like they're some luxury house. It was important for some reason. So I would include, just in general, Ceres as like an important like Orokin location. We know they were like all over the solar system, but it seems like Ceres was, along with Lua, like one of their main power centers, which is interesting. But yeah, and then pausing does not work in Duviri. Oh, and I'm getting shot at. Hello? Whoa. Did I just miss? But yeah, other than, I guess, I'm not gonna go through each like story beat of the Laverians. I am mostly gonna talk about the interesting things that are sort of like outside of the direct text, because I think that is the most relevant. Because like if you want the direct text, I think you can just read it. So I would say that outside of like the main Laverian story, it being on Ceres is interesting to me. And then so the only one of like the major details we get is like the Ultra Sentinels, which we only get from Barrow Katir, because Barrow sells, I think he sells something related to every single one of the Laverian stories, at least something. And so for the Gauss one, he sells the like a collection of Sentinel parts that are like cosmetic items, and they're described as being identical to the Ultra Sentries. And so the fan animation video that I linked, it has like a few issues, I would say, and one of those is having sort of just like a generic Orokin like auto turrets or whatever as being like the main thing that Gauss has to deal with. when in fact that we do have the model of the ultra robotic sentries. And also, if you read the Laverian, it talks about like outer rings of bunkers and minefields and stuff like that. And so there was like a, it had a lot of defenses, which I would say further raises Ultra's stature. That's a rough set of words there. In importance, because like it's very well guarded. So like, what is it doing? Like, what's going on at Ultra? It would be interesting if we found out that this was like actually the government center for the planetoid. Here we go. Casting ability deals 50 corrosive damage. So this plays into that corrosive power strength armor setup I was talking about. The video was fun. It also like made some implications as well. It was a great fan-made video, I think. It would be nice to get more information, like get some more detail on like some of the Laverian stories. But I say that about basically everything, all like of Warframe's lore. So yeah, I guess in the end, not much to say about the Gauss Laverian, except that it was like the first one, and it also the next one is the Atlas one, which came out with like the Prime. And when we get new Laverians, it's basically like any time a Warframe is in the spotlight, so to say. So like the Laverian came out when Gauss came out, and that happens sometimes like with Lavos as well. Sometimes it's when the Prime comes out. So like when Atlas Prime came out, we get the Atlas Laverian, and then it can even be if we get a deluxe skin, like for Nova and Ash, I think their Laverians came out with their deluxe skins. So there's not like it's not like, oh, we missed the chance. Hello, Phenomenist. So it's not like, if you see like the release of a Prime Warframe, these chests always have like a delay. There we go. Ooh, I do love this one. Especially it pairs well with Bombastein's Malice with the headshot toxin damage, and then you can like have that spread to nearby enemies. This is an anecdote. This is a side objective, but like, why not? Because I'm already here. So yeah, just because like you have like the Prime Warframe release without with no Laverian doesn't mean that doesn't mean that the Warframe has missed its chance to get a Laverian. Zaku Laverian with the Prime would be the dream. Yeah. We really need some information on Zaku, because all we have are like some of the cryptic comments, the one sentence from Grandmother, and like I guess lore from his description or something like that. I guess we'll just invest in this. It is hard to like not go for the gold, when they give it to you. I feel like there was another optional objective somewhere over here. I saw like a chest or something, maybe. Oh. Uh-oh. Stop it. These guys, the Gladiuses, the main guys, like the real Dax-looking guys, they're like, for some reason, they're the ones that give me the most trouble. Like, for me, it's easier to deal with the... Ooh, I do love... Oh! Gotta take the fleet-footed. This one is like, I think this is like everyone's favorite is fleet-footed. Zaku Laverian with the Prime would be the dream, though I hope they wouldn't reveal anything about the frames they were made from. I'm assuming is the rest of your comment. Alright, see ya, Ducky. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, so anyway, Atlas's Laverian came out with his Prime. This one is, by the way, this is a funny thing. This is like a discussion that we were having earlier, like yesterday or the day before, about how. Okay, I'm gonna have to like pay attention for this one. About how like this Laverian story gets taken like misunderstood a lot for some reason, which doesn't make sense to me because it's very straightforward. But the number of like comments I've seen from people being like, oh, Atlas is destroying the universe with one punch, when this is like absolutely not what's happening here. But yeah, so the Atlas Laverian again shows the Warframe being used in the service of the Orkin, which, that was most of what they did most of the time. Not all of them, as we'll see. But, there's like a religious cult that is like sending a meteor towards Earth, which is interesting. It's interesting that like the meteor's going to Earth, and the Orkin are like, oh, we've got to stop this. But it's been sort of implied and indicated in various ways that Earth was rendered uninhabitable somehow. Likely some sort of... I gotta go back and protect that last one. Whether it's like Orkin just completely... fucking up the planet, or infestation, outbreak of some kind, or some combination of all that. Whoops. But, like, there was an issue with... there we go. That's enough. But, like, Earth was, like, uninhabitable, not the main power center, and so, like, Lua was like the main capital of the Empire, which is of course the moon of Earth. And so the fact that the meteor was headed towards Earth and the Orkin were like, oh, we have to stop this. I wonder why that is. Maybe they worried that Lua would get caught in the crossfire, or maybe Earth was. They thought it was too symbolic. Because the Orkin are also, like, kind of the people where you can imagine them really, like, not worrying about, they're like, oh, who cares if, like, Earth gets destroyed, if it doesn't serve them anything. So, that's literally a detail that I've noticed just now in the moment, is like, why do they care about this? But, so you have this meteor headed towards Earth. They, like, put engines on it, so to make it, like, to drive it in the direction of Earth, which of course we see with like the Kruva Fortress is basically the same thing. It's like giant engines strapped onto a ship, and then when an Atlas is sent to the meteor to like take care of the problem, and as soon as he gets there, they blow off the engines so that Atlas can't use them to redirect. So now you have the asteroid like flying through space through its own momentum and inertia on an orbit set to impact with Earth and like cause devastation. And obviously, like the colonists on board are all going to die. This is like their suicide mission. And Atlas, he can't really like do anything about it. Because they took off the thrusters, and so he like fought them a little bit, I guess. There's like remnants of his fight with them. Why is this not? And like Drusus is like, oh yeah, we found some like petrified colonists and stuff. So he was fighting them, but like that's not really gonna help things. And so what he did was he made a bunch of rumblers out of the surface of the meteor and had them basically pound on like the fault lines in like a resonant fashion. And this is something that this is like kind of like a real life phenomenon where if you are able to resonate, within a material at certain frequencies in the right way, you can really amplify the force that you're putting out. This is like the, I mean, probably that one. This is like the philosophy behind like shaped charges as explosives, and so, and so you have Atlas and his rumblers all pounding on the fault lines of the meteor in such a way that they're like amplifying their total force, and eventually he basically is able to break the meteor apart. Come on. I'm trying to like poison him by headshotting him. There we go. Or well, I mean that didn't actually trigger that. There we go. And so he breaks the meteor apart, and it like shatters into a million pieces. And of course, the issue is like what happened with Atlas. I guess he probably, that specific Atlas, I assume, died. Yeah. The variant doesn't really say, but it can probably be presumed that everybody on the asteroid died, including reduce incoming damage by 3% per decree. It's interesting. I guess we'll pick that. So we got 12 degrees, and when we pick this, it'll be 13. So that's, what, 39% damage reduction? That's not bad. And it just grows. Oh, and we're on the last stage. I'll probably... Yeah, I don't like the loadout I have, so after I get rid of the Aura Worm, I'll probably just do a new run. I like to hang out in Duviri for a while afterwards, but I don't think I will be doing that on this run. But maybe if I get better rolls. So yeah, you have come on, what happened? Come on. But yeah, so you have Atlas's story, and the parts from this that Barrow sells is actually like an orbiter decoration, which is one of the things mentioned is the tableau Telemon, or the Telemon tableau, which is it's an orbiter depiction of like the cultists getting petrified by Atlas as they're fighting him. So it's just an orbiter decoration. That is most of the things that Barrow sells as orbiter decorations. And then one other note about about Atlas's story is that it actually gets mentioned by Otak. He says, let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah. Yeah, Otak says something about Citrine like punching the asteroid, which is not what Citrine does, and then Lloyd is like, oh yeah, Otak is just mixing up his stories, his Warframe rock related stories. So yeah. But yeah, I think the Atlas story kind of gets confused because people are like, oh, he punched the asteroid so hard it exploded, which is like, in a sense, true, but not really. It's not like he has that much force behind his punch. Atlas is famous for being a punching Warframe, and he is like based on a boxer, like a fighter. But he can't punch a planet into smithereens. He has to work with it, and it's more of his affinity for like rocks and stuff that is able to make that thing happen. like he knows the rocks well enough for that to happen. I'm taking too long. These are, I guess, slightly better for the job than the Torrid. But yeah. And then after that we get the Grendel one, which is one of the more interesting ones to me. And this one does not. This one takes place during the collapse. I think most of the a lot of the stories take place. If they don't take place when like during the time of the Orkin and during the Old War, of course, because that's when all the Warframes existed. Then they take place like during the collapse, which is interesting because you basically have them playing two different roles. Anytime you have like stories involving Warframes, they're either, in the majority of cases, they're like directly serving the Orkin or directly fighting the Orkin, which can probably be confusing. I think, if you don't pay attention to the lore. But yeah, so in the Grendel one, it's taking place during the collapse, during like the fall of the Orkin. The slaughter has already happened, and the Warframes, the Tenno, were essentially cleaning up, because not all of the high-ranking Orkin were killed in the slaughter. It's like most of them were, it's implied. Is that all of them? Yeah. But, there was Avantis, who was hanging out on Mars at the time, it seems. And Karish was another executor who survived the slaughter. I assume he wasn't there, but he might have been there and was able to escape. Geez, this is kind of annoying. Honestly, I might take that arc gun if they give it to me. Whoa. But yeah, and like I think the story is great just because it gives us this additional character of the executor Karish, who is like morbidly obese, such that he has like additional stomachs and like levitators to carry around his stomachs. I guess it kind of reminds me of like the Baron from Dune, who also like had levitators to like carry him around. There's damage field in the middle of the because you're supposed to fly around it. Yeah, well, so this is the Steel Path, which makes the fight with the Aura Worm different. So it includes this extra stage where you have to get on the horse and fly around the outside and shoot the Aura Worms, or like the Wormlings. Come on. This is like the weapon I have is like a projectile weapon. And these bullets have like a decent amount of travel time, which is annoying. So whenever this thing moves when I'm shooting at it. But yeah, so it has this additional phase where you have to get on the horse and fly around the circle, and it damages you if you stay in the middle, and you like it'll kill you. So there's a but during most of the fight you stay in the main arena. And now we're continuing to, this is gonna be tricky actually. I wonder if I have no hit scan weapons, unfortunately. This is actually really annoying. Oh shit. I forgot it spawned Dax during this segment. This is hit scan when it's a beam, right? It's gotta be. There's no such thing as like a beam that's not hit scan, as far as I know. That was too late. Whoop. We got one. I think that should be all of them. But yeah, and so so Carisha's holed up in this city on Europa, which is called Rida. And he has the local populace. He's got like a squadron of Dax and possibly other bodyguards. So he's able to still sort of enforce his will. Let's go. And so he's still lording it over this city as if, you know, he's basically got like his own pocket empire here, and trying to recreate the authority that he had as an executor, even though the rest of the Orcan Empire has fallen. There we go. And so Grendel comes and, you know, liberates the town, and it is strongly implied he eats Karish, although it doesn't actually show it. And then there's like a little bit that is like that talks about how Gauss and Grendel were like friends. There's like, oh, we found a piece of. Why is this? There's like a line. Is that the wall of the arena? What is this? Oh, it's my fucking glass. I was like, there's like a little line on the screen. Oh, it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna leave. Let me just see what Akrithis has. Browse wares. Forma, Orcan Reactor. I don't need these. I've got a decent amount. Magus Aggress. Why do I have 29 Pathos Clamps? That's such a weird number. Nah. I do love how fast you get when you've got the fleet-footed. Let's see. So yeah, so from the Grendel story we get this. Akrithis is a really interesting helmet. Yeah, I agree. It's very distinct. Akrithis as a character is very cool. I don't know. This isn't like widespread knowledge, but you have the 5 courtiers who I'm going back to Duviri. Do I have good rolls here? Hildren is alright. Gauss. My Corvex is only at rank 15. I guess I never... I mean, he's Formed, so I mastered him, but I guess I never finalized a build for him. Hate. Oh, I'm excited for that hate augment. I wonder if I can... I can make it super useful. Where is it? It's not going to be available for... It's at rank 15. That's annoying. But yeah, still not a great set of rules here. Hildren is fine though. I like Hildren. But yeah, so in Duviri you have the 5 courtiers who like lead the cycle, and they're obviously embodiments of their respective emotions. They're like avatars. But there are other emotions, and the other characters are also... Oh, I forgot I have this ephemera on my Gauss. Gotta have the Hildren Prime. Extra weapons do an extra hit with slash damage, but inflict slash to yourself when you attack. Just go with the foot-footed. 2 barrel. Oh, hey. Of course, why would I pick anything else? But yeah, so the other people in Duviri, they are their own emotional avatars, and so Akrithis is the avatar of curiosity, which may or may not, like, you know, is that an emotion really? But yeah, Akrithis is curiosity. So I don't, you know, she doesn't have like a spiral, of course, and I think it's a little unclear about like how involved. Like I think the 5. Whoops! I fell off the edge of the map. Just a hole in the bottom of the floor. it's unclear to me how like I think the five courtiers are maybe unique, and that's why they have spirals and they turn into aura worms. But it is theoretically possible for maybe that to also happen with the other ones. So, and we just don't see it. So maybe there's like a Krithus aura worm, but I doubt it. But yeah, the information. The information that Akrithis and the others have their own emotions or embody their own emotions comes from Adrian Bott, who is one of the writers on Warframe. I think it was like a layer of complexity that they didn't manage to add in to Warframe, to Duviri, because Rebecca mentioned that she wanted like 10 mood spirals, and that whoops, I forgot that I didn't have Bombastein's Malice anymore because I reset my run. Oh, shit. Alright. Just attack me. See, they never attack you. They just sort of stand around and look at you. So, let's see. We're still on Atlas. Or Grendel. But yeah, the cool thing about Grendel is like it's just giving us the more information that you have. It gave us the name of another one of the executors in Karish, and also gave us the name of this settlement on Europa, which we don't really hear much about. I mean, it sounds like a backwater town basically, of very little importance. But yeah, and so the thing about Grendel is the way you get his pieces is by buying the mission locators from the Arbiters of Hexus, and so the names of the missions themselves, you have Ice Fields of Rita, Mines of Karish, and Archaeo Freighter. And the Archaeo Freighter is just like a Corpus ship that's investigating like ancient artifacts. But we're able to glean a little bit more information that there was mining going on because of the mission node title Mines of Karish. Do I want cold or persistent attrition? This one helps with the aura worms, actually, so. Do you think aura worms are always intended for Duviri? We are really just having a hybrid stream here, because I am spending like half of my time talking about Duviri. I do think, so, the first time we saw aura worms shown off, it's a good question, because Duviri has had like a long and complicated sort of development cycle. The first time we saw the aura worms, it was in Duviri. Luminous. It was the TennoCon 2019 trailer that was Railjack, Kuvalich, Squad Link, and a little teaser of Duviri at the end, which was pretty separate from let's see, and like the Duviri thing was a whole lot different from what we ultimately got in Duviri, but yeah, that was the first time we saw the aura worms, and then we saw aura worms in a few other places. So the first time they were actually in the game was in the Heart of Deimos, because they you could see them in like the mirrors, the void mirrors in the Entradi labs, or in the isolation vaults. I mean, it's damn it. If you looked in like the void mirrors that are hanging in certain tiles within the isolation vaults, there we go. That's tricky, because there's like you can't just go through this because there's like a force field in the way. Then you could see the void worms floating around. In Railjack, you started being able to see them in the... If you were loading into a void mission, like a void storm, that's what they're called. You can see them when you're loading into void storms. They're like in the tunnel with you. And these are all, like, you observe them. They don't do anything. And then also in Citrine's Last Wish. In that... I don't want that. You just storm, imagine. And when you go through the void tunnel, you also see the aura worms. So they were when they showed up in game in like those 3 areas, they were always just sort of flying around in like void related regions, and they didn't do anything. They were just, you couldn't interact with them. You could just watch them like float around. Whoops. And that's all they were. And then when the Duviri paradox dropped, then you actually could, have them in the game, as like fightable enemies. So I do think, as far as I know, there's no information from DE about this, but I do think that they were, because the first time we see them is in the Duviri demo from 2019. I do think that they were always intended to be in Duviri, and that I do think they were always intended to be in Duviri, and that because Duviri just had such a long development window, that they showed up in other void-related spaces. And I kind of think that the same thing is true of the Thrax, even though we see the Thrax at first in Angels of the Zariman, and then they show up in a bunch of other places besides, that are also, again, void-related. I guess I just mean Lua Conjunction, because that's like the only other place that they show up. But it is my theory that... Did I not kill him? It is my theory that Duviri is their ultimate, is where the Thrax come from, and like their source. And so them showing up on the Zariman and on Lua in the Circulus is just because they, those are like sort of weak spaces where the barrier between the physical world and the void is thin. And so they're leaking through from Duviri. We already saw that one. So yeah, that's what I think about the Aura Worms. That's also what I think about the Thrax, is that yes, they were ultimately intended for Duviri. The thing about Duviri though is because it is in universe based off of like the storybook, and so when you have stuff that's like original to Duviri, you also sort of have to ask, was this in the Duviri storybook that Eularia wrote? And if so, did Eularia come up with it, or is this based off of an existing thing in Orokin culture that Eularia was writing about? It is just really... Uh-oh. The beam. Stop it. Oh, that really did a number on me. But yeah, Duviri is just like really complex when you're like thinking about what is like the origin of things in Duviri, and how based off of real life, like Warframe in universe real life, is each thing. Oh shit. Got taken out by some archers. Nope, not letting that happen again. So yeah, I kind of think that the Thrax are like unique. Like it's a thing that Dominus Thrax, like came up with, and it like happened like in the void. But because the aura worms, they show up on the cover of the book, I do think that that is the aura worms were part of the original story, and I don't know if they're based off of anything that Eularia saw within the Orcan Empire, like if aura worms exist in real life and she wrote about them, or if they're a concept that she made up for the story. I do think that the Thrax don't really exist outside of the storybook. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard to tell. This is not going well for me. I just usually have Bombastein's Malice by the time I am fighting like large groups of these decks. Come on. There we go. Oh, that didn't one-shot them. Alright, last wave. Freaking archers, man. Nope, no, no. Oh, crap. I don't want to die again. Nope, nope. Let's go. Anyway, I think I'm pretty much done with the Grendel story. The one thing is that the Barrow things that get sold. I wonder if does anyone ever use like the smoke bomb? I feel like that's like the least used ability because it's area dependent. You have to stay in the area. It's not like a normal invisibility. This guy is like frozen. He's not doing anything. Whatever. I messed up that parry. But he just died anyway. This guy's just not moving. Okay, I have to deal with this clearly. Boom! Alrighty then. That was not a great combat, I will say. There it is. And then go towards the chest. The Barrow parts that the items that Barrow sells are the Karish's Dinnerware, which is another orbiter decoration, and the Exosac Arcwing skin, which is it's a skin for the Arcwing, for any Arcwing, that it says that it is inspired by the Exosac Levitators. So we don't have any information on what Karish looked like, or like we don't have any depictions. We have descriptions of what he looked like, but there are no depictions of Karish or his many stomachs and Exosac Levitators. But we do have an Arcwing skin that is sort of based off of him. And like when I was doing my video on the Orcan, that's the only thing that I could use is I just show off the Arcwing skin because that's the only thing you can talk about when it comes to Karish. I've seen some fan art of him, but I would like to have like an official depiction. I bet DE loves making like grotesque looking things, so I'm sure that they would have a fun time coming up with like an official Karish model. Oh, nice. The Ivara one is next. By the way, while I'm here at this cemetery, which is called Titan's Rest, it's on the Nether Barrow Island here. But you have this big cemetery. They added this in, I think, the Kullervo's Hold update, or maybe the Echoes of Duviri update. Um, but this wasn't in the original Duviri. But these tombstones, by the way, you can read them. They all of these tombstones and grave sites have like tombstone inscriptions on them, including this big monument. This one doesn't appear to be like a grave for any specific person. But yeah, these are, and then you have this depressed person who's just sitting at the grave sites. She doesn't seem to be depressed about like. I mean, this is one of the characters who shows up in various places. I think I called her like the morose one or something like that when I was typing up her dialogue. But she appears in like a number of places because there's a lot of unique characters, but not as many as there are in Duviri. You know, I want to say there's like maybe even 15 unique characters, like NPCs, the unnamed people. I think there's like the children, and like 7 each of male and female or something like that. But yeah, these I think it's really cool that we're getting gravestones. I would love that. I would love it if they added these kinds of like readable details like all over the map. Or like in other places other than Duviri. I just, this is the kind of thing I love, is just having tiny little details about the world that it makes it feel so much cooler, and like, these are all like more details, because these, the Akrithis will give you like a list of a bunch of different lost islands of Duviri that existed in the past, but she just gives you a list, and she doesn't say anything about them except they were like horrible places. But if you look in those gravestones, they are like, oh, this person died on this island, this person died on this island, and it gives you some additional clues as to what made that island so terrible. So, like, the gravestones, they actually do give a decent amount of lore. And it's all, like, sort of implied lore. But it's, like, that's really cool, and that's a great use for them, I think, is to, is for Akrithis to be like, hey, here's the name of this thing, and then you get it explained like later in a different place. I really like that. Like, it's almost like a treasure hunt for lore, Kind of weird to have a grotesque looking Orkin, though. Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Orkin is that they thought that they were perfect, like aesthetically. Like, they really liked having like blue skin and one long arm, and that looks weird and like kind of creepy. I wanna like find a bunch of like a new player playthrough of like Apostasy Prologue and like watch them like see Ballast for the first time and be like, whoa, what the heck? Like, that guy looks freaky, because he does, if you like think about it. So I'm sure Karish did not think that he looked grotesque. And he would probably be, he would have like, the golden clothing and perfect skin and like glowing eyes, and he would have all the other Orkin traits. He would just have 12 stomachs. I don't even know if he. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be cool, I think, to have this additional look at. Come on, there we go. My wife asked me once, what is lore? I straightened my wizard's hat and continue playing weird guitar riffs with lots of delay and reverb. Well, yeah. Is there anything I need to do in here? I don't think so. I just did a bunch of... I didn't even get a decree for killing all those guys. That's a shame. Alright. There's a hidden chester. Ooh, I just heard it. I thought I just heard it. This is a big area to search for a hidden chest. So Ivara's Laverian. While I'm here's a fishing site. I gotta kill these guys so they won't stop chasing me. So Ivara's Laverian is another one. Here's so the main story of it is that Ivara and two other Warframes who are completely undescribed because they die instantly. Is Ivara sent to respond to like a Dax emergency beacon, and she finds like in a cave lair. She finds a creature called the Myrmidon, or like a person, who has been like killing Warframes, and what he does is he has two things. He has like essentially like a nullifier, gauntlet. He has a device that can cancel Warframe powers and prevent them from being activated. And then he has like a portable Jade Light on his other hand. And so he basically nullifies Warframes so they don't do anything special, and then he just disintegrates them. And the implication for this story is that this is actually like a thing or a person that the Orokin, it's either an Orokin or, and to me it's kind of like strange the way they worded it, because it's either an Orokin who was given this assignment, or it is like a servant of the Orokin who was made for this assignment. But either way, this is like acting in like an official capacity. Yes, we will reduce incoming damage. And that was sort of implied by the fact that he has got like this like Jade Light ability. And here it is. Wait, this is a different chest. This is not the chest I was supposed to find. He's got this Jade Light ability, and he's got whatever nullifier technology. And what they do is they use the Myrmidon to test Warframes as they're being developed. And when Ivara finally brings the head of what does she bring? Oh, she actually brings the Myrmidon. She captures him. Because she destroys his device. Yep, Bombastein's Malice. I always grab this one, and so I basically always pretend like I have it. Or like I play as if I have it. Which has been causing me issues on this run. Because I didn't have it. Now I do. Still haven't found the hidden chest, though. So, yeah, Ivara basically destroys his two devices, his Nullifier and his Jade Light, so now he's just, like, a regular dude. And then she captures him, and she, like, destroys his... She, like, takes off his armor and, like, carries him back to the 7, and like, the ending of this... That's right, you can't pause. And the ending to it is like kind of weird because one of the executors, possibly Ballas, there we go, like takes off a lattice of silver from their head, which I think that they were using to control the Myrmidon. And once he takes it off, then the Myrmidon, like, dies instantly. So, that is... There's another description earlier that says the Myrmidon sacrificed beauty, symmetry, and the capacity for language in exchange for raw power. And so the fact that he... Huh. And so the fact that he... I still haven't been able to find this chest. I think it might be underground. Oh, hold on. Is this it? You know, it says that he sacrificed beauty and symmetry, and so that makes me think it was an organ. But the fact that, you know, as soon as the other organ removed the control lattice, that it, like, died, makes me think that it wasn't, like, a person. It was some sort of drone or slave or something. So exactly what the Myrmidon was, I think, is to me confusing. How did the Seven even have time for all this stuff? They weren't doing anything else. They were, you know, they were supposed to be running an empire, but, like, they had people to do everything for them. So, you know, they just did whatever they wanted. The heck was that Tauntaun? Where? What are you talking about? There are animals here, but I don't remember seeing one. I might have, like, literally just erased it from my memory. But I don't know what Tauntaun you're talking about. Wait, so that wasn't the chest. That was just another random chest. God, this is annoying. It's gotta be underground, right? That's... has to be what I'm missing. But one of the really interesting things about the, one of the really interesting things about Ivara's, Laverian is that there is an animation that exists for it. They ride Tauntauns in Star Wars. Well, I know what a Tauntaun is, I just don't know what... I didn't see one in the game, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. This is, like, really frustrating me. Where's the hidden chest? I know it's, like, hidden. Wait, can I use the guiding hand? Will that lead me to the chest? Oh my god. Is this gonna work? I've never tried to do this before. Yes, I was right. It was underground. Okay. Okay. That was just a huge... Oh! Is it at the gravesite? It is. If any of you have never seen this place before, this is Albrecht and Trotty's grave. Now, he doesn't... he didn't, like, die. He just left. You were just riding this town... Oh! The Caith. Okay. Let me get out of here first. But this is... They have this grave for him because he left. These are not great. Or at least I don't want them. Weak point kills create a... What? I'll take that. Albrecht and Trotty went to Duviri, and then he spent some time here, and then he left. And enough people liked him that they, I guess, built a gravesite to him. You basically have to... It doesn't say Albrecht anywhere. You have to infer that from the tombstone inscription. I guessed that this was Albrecht's grave before they added this. I don't know why I'm, like, bragging about this. But I was like, you know, what could this be? And then they added this, and I think this makes it fairly clear. Stranger, father, scholar. I love Albrecht. And then there's, like, usually, like, a ton of resources in here. I think the chest is blocking some of them from spawning. There's usually a ton back here. And if you visit this place during the... is it Fear? No, we're in Fear now. Right? Yeah, we're in fear. Um, envy. I think if you visit this tomb during envy, then the vagabond will be standing over the grave, and the vagabond is of course the man in the wall, or at least like a fragment of him. But yeah, his but this grave is in this tomb, or sorry, in this cave underground. Um, all right. So because Phenomenasta is not very familiar with Duviri, you get a case, which is just a horse. It's like a skeleton horse, um, and you can customize these. There's different skins for them, and you can just summon them and ride them around, and then just de-summon them, and they also come on, they also fly. But yeah, it's called a Kaith, which is, I guess, just their word for horse. Um, do. All right. Going into the Undercraft. Give me a quick second here to take care of something.
Secrets lie buried deep within the Undercroft. The Paradox provides the means to extract them. You must protect the excavators and keep them powered. Extraction site.
shit. I have been muted this whole time. Dang it. I mean, this is why I'm doing a test stream, is to just try to get, I mean, in a sense, just get better at streaming, you know? Yes, I've been muted this whole time, and that's extremely embarrassing. Yeah. Well, what I was essentially saying is that I am back, right? Yeah. What I was essentially saying is that there's this animation for Ivara that DE made and never finished, I guess, and I would love to like see, I guess, what they have, because it's just this animation depicting Ivara fighting the Myrmidon that they never released and never announced or talk about ever. But like you can see like a few clips of it in like this random tweet. So but yeah, that's like a weird. Oh, Jade Eximus Malleus. I've never seen that before. That's just like the weird fact I have about the Ivara Laverian, is that there's a cartoon of it somewhere, like an official one. Alright. We are so close to done. I think after I finish this spiral, I will have to go. But yeah, the Ivara thing, the Ivara, the merch item, so to speak, that Barrow sells is the secret history replica. So the story of Ivara and the Myrmidon comes from a basically like a gossip book about the Orokin court, written by this historian named Porvis, and he like wrote down stuff that he overheard basically in the Orokin court, and that includes this whole tale of Ivara. What kind of animation was it? I don't really know how to answer that question. Like, I don't know what you mean by like kind of animation, but it was like a short, like, so they made an animation. They made a little anime for Styanax. It's like a 5-minute thing called Ascension Day, and it ties him with his Laverian. It looks like they did a similar thing with Ivara, but they didn't announce it and they didn't advertise it and they never released it. Like the only reason I know it exists is because they included fragments of it in. Why are my eyes like that? They included like little fragments of it in like a video. I don't know how long I was muted, so I don't know how much of this I'm repeating. But they included they sold a statue of like a real life statue of Ivara, and they were like showing it off in a tweet. There's like a video of like different angles of the statue, and it's intercut with like this anime of Ivara fighting the Myrmidon. No, it's not an emote. It's like a video, like an animation video, like a short film or something, and it's just baffling to me because like there's no official information on it. It's a flying mount. Yes. Oh, yes. You were also. I also explained this to you, Phenomenus, but I was muted. So, but yes, it's like a skeleton horse thingy, and it also flies. Wow, just the fact that I was muted for like that whole time is just really embarrassing to me. Shit, I got knocked off. Come on. But yeah, so so Porvis was apparently this historian who was listening, like he was just hanging around the Orokin court, and he heard it, and that's why we have this story. It is interesting. I think at some point I'll have to discuss, uh, but I think maybe on a later stream, discuss like the Laverian as a concept. I think it's really interesting that you have Drusus, who is like gets these stories from different places, and so they have like different sort of perspectives. But so this story comes from a historian who wrote stuff down in something called The Secret History of the Orcan Court. And so the merch item that you can buy from Barrow is like the book, essentially, but it's not a book, it's just like a data storage device. And interestingly, it uses the same model as a legum, because during Nightwave Glassmaker, you could find one of the legums as a clue, and it's also on this like Orcan data storage device, and the Secret History of the Orcan Court uses the same model, and that's actually why it is. It's actually the logo of the server of like the channel. It's just like the Orcan Archives logo is like a segment of. I actually shouldn't have that on. It's actually that model, that item with like the little circular medallion, and the Orcan text I added that says Orcan Archives on it. So, yeah, the Ivara Laverian story has like a tie to. This is taking forever. What's my sidearm? It's has like a bit of a tie to the Orcan Archives. Because it's the logo. I should just take this thing. Now Gears of War. Yeah, so this is when you're playing Duviri, it ends with you fighting this giant Aura Worm, and so it's like a multi-stage boss fight, including riding it, and then you drag it to this arena, and then you have to shoot the rings while it attacks you with, I would say, largely ineffectual AoE attacks. And then you have to get on the horse again. But yeah, I mean, the Duviri gameplay is fairly varied in like the types of tasks it asks you to do, and I really like it. I played a lot of Duviri to get like all the dialogue from all the characters. I had a lot of fun hunting all of that down. Damn. Alright, so yeah, I think we're gonna, like I said, after I kill this Aura Worm, I'm basically just gonna call it a day. But yeah, it is, it is tough to be playing and talking about a semi-unrelated topic. That's just like I'm gonna go backwards, try to get this guy as he's coming towards me. Nope, fail. That's just something I'll have to get better at, is being able to talk while reading chat and streaming. But like, I think my plan in the future is to have talk about a specific subject, and like have sort of like, I think if I prepare something ahead of time, that might make it a little bit easier. Alright. She's very upset. Yeah, this thing is kind of tanky. on Steel Path. The Pity Arch Gun. But yeah, so there's, I think we only got through 4 or so of the Laverians. But I don't think we should, like, oh, the Nova one is interesting. Like I said, it came out with her deluxe skin, and it basically just tells the tale of her fighting off against a pirate who's like set a trap for her. And yeah, he's like set a trap for her on like a passenger ship. But it is interesting. Oh god, I should just ignore those guys, I guess. It is interesting to me because it's like, you think about it, the Warframes were like advanced, like weapons developed to fight like an unstoppable enemy in the midst of like an all-consuming war. And then in the Nova one, you have a Warframe who's basically just dispatched to help a passenger ship that is like having some engine problems. So I think it's an illustration of just how long the old war was going on, that like there were quiet periods where you could just do stuff, but it really does seem like overkill, you know. Imagine if like your car broke down on the highway and like the president sent in SEAL Team 6 to help you out. It's sort of the vibe of the Nova Laverian story, really. And they say that Wholesome Ur, the pirate, was hired to do this job. He didn't do it because he like hated Nova. He was a pirate who did everything for the highest bidder. And so he was paid to like set this trap. And they never really resolve why or who. And that's just like a, you know, maybe it was the same deal as Ivara and they were like trying to test Nova. Obviously, I literally ran out of ammo trying to shoot this thing. Obviously, they can't continue to use the Myrmidon because Ivara like defeated it, and so it's not like available for use as a testing, like to test new Warframes. And so I guess like the Orkin, they always wanted to like field test their Warframes before they were like really happy with them. And so maybe that's what that was. It's just, you know, they're just like, oh, he was hired to do this, and then why? It could be operators acting on their own initiative. No, she was let me do. Yeah, so the passenger vessel Masker's Theodolite reported critical problems with her engines. Nova was deployed to relight the antimatter reactor. So it says that she was deployed. It doesn't say that she like chose to go there just for fun. And you know, the reason that she was deployed was because it was an issue with the antimatter, and she is obviously very skilled at antimatter, like at controlling it. So I mean, it makes sense why they sent her, and that's like part of the trap is that Wholesome Ur, you know, engineered a plot in which Nova specifically would be sent because he was after Nova specifically, but it doesn't explain why. Imagine if your space worm broke down on the space highway and you had to face Spice Dr. Octopus while swinging on your spider webs. That's just Duviri. I'm gonna open Region Chat and see if I can find the question answer. I have Region Chat disabled. I forgot about that. Alrighty. Well, we got some Pathos clamps, which I don't need because I have completed. Actually, let's do. I've gotten all of the incarnans. So I don't typically do the circuit anymore. But they're gonna come out with 5 new ones, so it's good to have a stockpile of Pathos clamps, you know. I might do a little bit of circuit this week just to get these arcanes though, but that will be later. Alright, so I guess that's most of what I have to say about Nova. Is just like the context of it is like kind of funny to me. I would say it's not it's not super interesting as a story in terms of like details that jump out to me. It is a good story. It's a good Laverian, but it doesn't have like a lot of like things that jump out from beyond like the text. And you can buy like the crew suit that the crew of the Masker's Theodolite ship wore, and that's just like operator / drifter gear, which is fine. But yeah, so yeah, that was just, you know, going through some of the Laverians and talking about the parts of them that I thought were interesting beyond just, you know, the story itself. And the part that's like the most interesting to me is like this lost animation about Ivara, but that's also, I mean, yeah. But yeah, that was that. Thank you to those who dropped by, and I will see you around.